Matthew Stafford exits Rams Cowboys practice with hamstring tightness.
Oh. Oh, no.
Hello, Ramley and other NFL family. Payout time here, your Canadian Ram fan. And we are talking about some practice. Yeah, we're talking about practice. That's right. Over here on the Rams Wire, they reference Rams reporter Gary Klein here. His initial tweet is Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford did not participate in most of second half of practice because of hamstring tightness, a Rams official said. Go back up here, Cameron De Silva in his article here on the Rams Wire. Matthew Stafford has enjoyed an offseason of being fully healthy, his first such offseason in a few years. However, the Rams were given a little bit of a scare on Wednesday when the veteran quarterback experienced some hamstring tightness. According to Gary Klein of the LA Times, Stafford sat out most of the second half of the practice against the Cowboys due to hamstring tightness. The Rams were likely being very cautious with their star quarterback, but you never want to see a soft tissue injury suffered by a starter, especially someone as important as Stafford. Stafford's status will bear monitoring, though he's not going to play in the next two preseason games, regardless of his health. If Stafford is forced to miss any time, Jimmy G and Stetson Bennett would be elevated to the depth chart. Garoppolo is currently the backup with Bennett as the third string quarterback. And that is what I want to talk about here. Okay, it's time to have an honest conversation about Stetson Bennett, okay? And Jimmy G. More so Stetson Bennett in this. Okay, again, Stafford, we don't want to overreact. We're not going to be those fans. Let's not be those fans that overreacts to a hamstring issue that could happen to any NFL player, any quarterback, any team.
I'm fine! Totally fine!
Not going to overreact to that. No. For all intents and purposes, he, just a little sore, sat out a bunch of practice. Happens all the time. No big deal. Stafford probably, has had that kind of injury multiple times throughout his career and played through it. But this is the walking on eggshells question here. Because Jimmy Garoppolo, who I do believe was a good backup signing for the Rams, but he's suspended for the first two games. If Stetson Bennett is put into action in an actual NFL game, that's not ideal. You all remember the Brett Rippon experience last year when the Rams played the Packers. The year before that, when John Wolford and Bryce Perkins were forced into action. The level of quarterback play from Matthew Stafford to a lot of these unproven talents in the NFL, it's quite a drop-off. Jimmy G, jury's still out. I know he had a rough season with the Raiders. I still think him as a backup is great. Ideally, Stafford doesn't miss any time, but if he does miss some, okay. We have Jimmy G. Now, Stetson Bennett, last preseason game was an important game of his career, his young career. He has another preseason game against the Chargers coming up. It's going to be another big one for him. Yes, he got the game-winning touchdown, but then there's that element of the 4, possibly could have been 5 interceptions in one game in a preseason game. I don't get excited right now about Stetson Bennett. I know he missed a lot of last year because of off-the-field things, and I'm sympathetic towards that. I don't hold that against him, but I still do think the conversation about missing football has kind of peaked for him, right? Like he doesn't necessarily have a lot more ceiling to develop into as an NFL football player. And when the Rams drafted him, I was kind of under the impression of, oh, they drafted an older college quarterback who's had a lot of success at college because he's ready to be the backup now. This isn't like you were drafting, a 21, 22-year-old player out of college, and you're like, okay, let's maybe develop him into a backup or a starter of some kind. I really thought that's what we were getting with Stetson Bennett, but last year in the preseason he had kind of a mixed bag. He had some good moments, he had some bad moments, and in that game, and again, it's one game, but it's an important game for him. There were some good moments. There were some really bad moments. Of course, there was the epic moment at the end when he won it. And he busted out of the pocket to the left, and he sidearmed a dart. Love that. But we're gonna monitor this Matthew Stafford situation. Again, I don't want to be the guy that freaks out. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that Rams fan. If we continue to hear reports of Stafford's injury, then I'm concerned. Because in the NFL, every game means so much. Losing one game could cost you the division. It could cost you a playoff spot. And the Rams, they opened with the Lions. I'm not comfortable having Stetson Bennett lead this team into Detroit week 1. I'm not there yet. I'm cheering for Stetson. I really am. But if I'm being honest as a fan, I'm not comfortable with that. Now the question is, who do you call? Like, are you going to try and trade for someone? Probably not this time of year. And like, are you going to try and talk Nick Foles out of retirement? I don't think Nick Foles is super excited to become a Ram again. But if you're looking at the options out there, and I'm not saying the Rams need to find someone to back up Stafford the rest of the season, but is there an argument to find someone for these first couple weeks? Do you talk to Tampa, see if John Wolford can come back? I don't think that's necessarily the best option either, but I'm just throwing stuff at the wall here, seeing what will stick. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, go Rams, horns up, and peace out. We are officially a couple weeks away from the season, and I think especially because of the Vikings injuries that have happened recently, everyone's kind of walking on eggshells right now.